So, Kristin, I have a question for you.
Hmm.
And I think this is something that we can talk about today is who are we really talking to about wine and why?
That is a really good question. And I feel like if anybody's paid any sort of attention to how brands are talking to their consumers, it seems like everybody's talking to the same person. And there's this cool graphic that we had come upon it's based off of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And it's that pyramid of kind of where just the basic needs that go up to the more intricate levels of needs. I'm not explaining it right. I'm failing my psychology degree that's hanging right behind me. But there was a really cool graphic that explained kind of almost the customer, the wine journey. And I think that there's a lot of brands that are just talking to the very tippy top of the pyramid, which to me is just the people who, it's the winos, the big wine geeks. To me, that's just scratching the surface of the average wine consumer.
Yeah, I agree. For everyone listening, we're going to put a graphic up on the screen. So if you watch this on YouTube or wherever, you'll be able to see it, but I'll try and describe it. So Maslow's hierarchy of needs basically goes from, it's a pyramid shape, and at the very bottom is the very basic things that you need as a human to survive, right? So your health, you need food, and you need to be able to sleep. Right. The next level up is safety. So it's shelter, clothes, warmth, like basically removal from danger. And the next level up from that is belonging. So being a part of a group, having, love and affection and like a social life. And then up from that, there is esteem. So that's sort of like esteem from yourself, esteem from other, sort of like validation, external validation and internal validation. And then at the very tippy top of the pyramid is self-actualization. So that's like achieving spiritual enlightenment, who you are as an individual, your individual potential, right? And so several years ago, when I was first kind of learning how to market wine online, I found this article by Amber LeBeau. She has a blog called Spit Bucket Blog. She hasn't posted to it in a while, which is sad for all of us because it's really good.
Great name.
So yeah, Spit Bucket blog. We'll link all of this in the show notes as well, so you can find it. But this particular article is called "Stop Scaring the Newbies: A Look at the Wine Hierarchy of Needs." And so she's basically taken Maslow's hierarchy of needs and adapted it to the wine industry and like the journey of a wine drinker, right? And so at the very bottom of the pyramid, where you have your physiological needs, Amber has postulated that I want to drink wine with my food or for pleasure. So these are the beginning wine drinkers. They're the newbies. And then the next level up from that is safety. So I don't want to buy something I'm not going to like. So they want the assurity that they're going to like the wine that they're getting. The next level up from that, of course, is belonging. And so these are the people that are like, I want to go wine tasting. I want to travel to winery with friends. I want to be a part of a community, right? The next level up from that is esteem. So I really want to learn more about wine. So these are the people that are starting to get really curious. They're asking questions. They're not afraid of the wine with the weird name. They're going to order Gewürztraminer, even if it's really, really hard to pronounce. And they are also, because they are looking for the esteem from self and others, these are often people who are kind of like want to brag a little bit about the wine that they've found at a wine shop. They want to tell the story about it. And I think like in the wine industry, this is where most of us sit, who are like have been in the wine industry for some time. And I feel like we can have like a whole other conversation about like ego and like the ego that comes with being in the wine industry.
Yeah.
Because that's a big thing. But then at the very tippy top of the pyramid, the self-actualization part, we have the wino. And I've had lots of conversations about this too. I feel like there needs to be a different term for this, because I feel like people hear the term wino and they get closed up and they feel like they don't identify with that, even if that's kind of who they are. I would list people like Billy Wathen from Foxen as like somebody who's been self-actualized, in wine specifically, and maybe Brandon too from Dragonette. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, it's definitely the professionals all kind of exist at that tippy top, I think, that those top two. And
Mhm.
then there's this tendency to, well, because this is where I'm at, everybody else needs to meet me here.
Right.
And you're expecting the consumer to rise up that pyramid, and there's a lot of consumers that actually have no interest in going up the pyramid. They are happy being on the bottom and just kind of enjoying wine casually and still kind of having an appreciation for it, but not needing to add all these different layers to understand and enjoy the beverage. And I think
Yeah.
and we need to, as an industry, also communicate to the consumer that that's actually okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I'm the majority of my time. I'm literally just sipping wine, watching Gilmore Girls for the 20,000th time. I mean, like I'm not hyper intellectualizing my experience with wine every single time I have it.
Hmm.
And I think that there's just been that disconnect for so long with when brands talk to a consumer that over the years, as decades go on, now we're losing, wine sales, or people are freaking out because wine sales are down and younger generations not drinking it. And it's like, well, we've literally kind of been communicating about wine in the exact same way. And everybody's been
Hmm.
assuming that the top of the pyramid is everybody's going to get there. But your consumers are still underneath that. The people who will still buy
Yeah.
wine are there. You just needed to learn how to talk to them.
Yes.
I was starting to get feisty.
No, I love it. I'm nodding my head vigorously because I agree. Like, I think consumers feel like there's a lot of pressure to be hyper intellectual about wine, and so that's what stops them from getting it.
Totally.
I feel like this is a theme that's been kind of on my brain for the last week or two. I mean, I'm always thinking about this, but more so right now. Like, I just wrote for my wine marketing field guide Substack. I just wrote a post about why can't wine be a moving day beverage. It's a look. The question came about just for for context because my dad's in the process of moving out of my childhood home, which has been bringing up a lot of feelings. And as one does when like big milestones like that happen, we grabbed a bottle of champagne to celebrate and
As
to
you
kind
should.
of toast. Yeah, as one should. Champagne, exactly.
Wearing the hat.
Yes, Kristin's wearing a hat that says champagne for our podcast listeners. That makes me happy. But yeah, so we grabbed a bottle of champagne, but then I also grabbed just, like, I mean, it's funny. I'm going to call this a regular bottle of wine, but it's a Vouvray. So like maybe a little bit more nerdy than the average person would grab. But whatever, I've been in the wine industry for a while. That's my prerogative. But I grabbed another bottle of wine in addition to the champagne just to have while we like ate our moving day pizza and of course, in the way of moving, my dad had already packed all of the glassware. And so like literally all that was left was two tumblers. There are these two like water goblets and then a mug, coffee mug. And of course Bob doesn't drink wine, he drinks beer, and so he had his beer in one of the water goblets. I was, of course, like the beer nerd finds the one glass that's acceptable for that, and the rest of us are drinking out of like less than ideal things.
Right.
But it was so real. That's how people are actually drinking wine. Even the wine nerds, and I would say almost like especially the wine nerds, are drinking wine, out of tumblers, out of red solo cups, out of mason jars. And I think that's the point that I'm trying to get at, is that I think we need to stop putting pressure on wine as this special occasions only kind of beverage. And we in the wine industry need to be better about communicating that wine is the occasion. It can be enjoyed at any time and for any reason. And, it can be enjoyed because it's Tuesday and you want wine. Like, that's the reason. And I literally, I saw this Instagram post today. Again, this is all on the brain, so I feel like I'm noticing things more. And this one guy was like, I moved from Louisiana to California, and I think that everyone in California thinks that I'm an alcoholic. And then he was like telling this story about how he went to a wine shop, or he went to a grocery store and like bought 2 bottles of Sauvignon Blanc or something. And the cashier was like, "Oh, what's the occasion?" And he was saying, "The occasion is I like wine." And he kept talking about how like, "Oh, I feel like these people think that I'm an alcoholic or whatever." And in my head, I was like, well, I don't think it's necessarily that they think that you're an alcoholic. I think it's that they see wine as a special occasion beverage. And so that's why they're asking you, what's the occasion? Or like, ooh, big plans ahead. Like those were, the remarks that he was talking about. Yeah, like, oh, hot date. Yeah, like what do you got going on? You're buying wine, And I think it's that wine is so often marketed as and seen as a special occasion beverage that's the association that people have with. If he had been buying a sixer of beer or a pack of, RTD seltzers or something, I don't think they would have said anything at all. If they, if they did say something, it wouldn't have been, what's the occasion? They maybe would have been big plans tonight. They maybe would have said that, but I don't think they would have been like, yeah, ready to party. I feel like it would have been a different remark, but the fact that the remark was
about wine,
got like, what's the occasion, is because it was wine. And I think that's where we as wine industry professionals and whatever, I think that's where we need to help consumers see that it's not just a special occasion beverage, that it is however you want it to be.
Right.
So,
and I think a lot of that, though, I mean, if we're talking about wine, if we're branding wine in the wineries that we work for, if we're marketing that and using the language as my wine is superior because this is just trying to create that exclusivity, that's instantly applying a special occasion. You're kind of implying that the beverage is only for special occasions. The language that we use to market wine is often of this level of prestige.
mm-hmm.
And so when you are marketing with that language, that's going to automatically be the consumer's new filter about wine, is that it's only for special occasions because it has so much weight and clout and it was made a certain way and from old vines, which are dope wines, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm not harping on or talking about old vine.
We love old wine wines.
We love old wine wines. Just for the sake of my point, is that when you are talking so heavily about the product, you make it to where the consumer feels like the product can't be touched as often as it can be, or consumed as often as it can be.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. And I think, this is something I talk about with my clients too. You just have to, you have to have, your language needs to have a specific purpose when you're talking about wine. So like if you are talking about, say, one of your higher price point wines, then the language around that is going to be a little bit more exclusive. It is going to be a little bit more, this is the wine that you age, or this is the wine that you open on special occasion. But then you have the wineries like Fox has a couple of lower price point wines. They have a $30 Chenin. I know that lower price point is relative, by the way, when I'm saying this, because
totally
I think
relative,
maybe some listeners are going to be like, $30, that's expensive. Yeah, but so they have, their $30 Chenin Blanc, their $35 Pinot Noir, which are kind of their like the place to start when you are drinking Foxen wines. And so the way that we talk about those wines, I run their social media. So the way that we talk about those wines is very different than the way that we talk about their, Ma Mère Cab, which is from this like teeny tiny quarter acre plot. It's $100, I think, $10 a bottle or something, because it's really expensive to farm and it's really exclusive. So that is the wine, and it's aged for 2 years before it's even bottled, and then they bottle age it for a little longer so that people can enjoy it a little bit sooner. But that's the wine that you age. That's the special occasion bottle. I don't know a lot of people that are opening $100 bottles of wine on a weekday for no reason, right?
Honestly, I will if I need to feel pretty.
Yeah, and that's a great reason as well.
If I've just had a day and I need to feel pretty,
mm-hmm.
I will open that bottle.
My gosh, there's so much potential in that for social media.
Yeah.
I just wanted to feel pretty.
Yeah, if I am sitting on a bottle of champagne, you can find relatively, again, it's relative or subjective, what affordable champagne is. There is a spider dangling from the other end of the room. I'm gonna have to deal with that. Okay. But if I can find a reasonably priced bottle of champagne that I can just have like a few of on hand, I will open it on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
Because I need to feel pretty.
Who is it? Sonia Megdevsky, at formerly Casa du Metz, now Clementine Carter / Feminist Party Wines.
Mm-hmm.
She has a wine and beer shop also next to Clementine Carter, next to her tasting room, called
Babbies.
Babby's Beer Emporium. We love it so much. One of her things that she talks about a lot is how champagne, sparkling wine it's her favorite type of wine, and how like she's like we can have it at any time. And so she makes a point to carry different price point sparkling wines so that when her guests come in and they're like, they tell her the occasion or whatever, and she's like, okay, this is the one that I'd recommend because it's, you know, it's gonna check all these boxes for you and it's a really friendly price point. So it's gonna, you can buy a couple of them and then open them when you want to feel pretty, or like when you know, when you want to feel fancy, or you just need something sparkly to liven your day up a little bit. And then you have those higher price point sparkling wines on hand for the really special occasion, you know?
Right.
Yeah. Like when I went to buy this wine from Mission Wine and Spirits, by the way, shout out to them because they're amazing. Down in Altadena. I'd been going to this wine shop for years, and I walked in and like talked to the one of the somms there, one of the wine buyers, and I was like, you know, here's the occasion. Here's what I'm, you know, here for. I want it to be champagne. I don't want any regular sparkling wine. Like, I want it to be champagne. And he was like, well, what's your price point? And I was like, price isn't really an object right now because this is a big deal. This is a big celebration. Let's maybe try to keep it under 100 if we can, but like if you like think that I can't live without something that is over 100, I will pay that right now because that's where I'm at. And it was really cool because he took me over. He's like, oh, do you want it chilled? And so he took me over to the fridge and he started from the ground up. You know, the lower price point bottles kind of a little bit lower to the ground, the higher price point bottles a little bit closer to eye level. And he was like, well, here are the advantages of each thing. And it was really cool that he wasn't just like exclusively trying to, even though I was like, price is no object, you can sell me anything, person. And he was like, no, like these are all really great options down here below that are in the $40 range. And if it were me, this is the one that I would get. And he pointed me to the one that I ultimately ended up buying, which I think was like $65 or something. And he could have easily been like, yeah, well, you know, you can't live without this like 100 something dollar bottle of wine. But he was really hyped about the wine that he directed me to. So I don't know. I think we need to be a little bit more like that, I guess. Ask what the occasion is and then direct people as needed. And if the occasion is literally, it's Tuesday or I want to feel pretty, then
right,
that's where we can go. I don't know where I was going with that. Does that make sense?
It totally does.
I had a reason.
Hey, it's Kristin, and I need to put you on to the Wino Shop. The Wino Shop is a Black female-owned online merch store designed for the diverse wine lover. And yes, that means everybody. This community is made up of explorers, adventurers, and wine lovers who believe in wine's power to bring people together, spark conversations, and create shared experiences. And if you've been paying attention to Pour Memories, you know that's exactly what Heather and I are all about. Honestly, some days my entire fit is straight from the Wino Shop. I've got a black hat that simply says champagne for when I need to feel pretty but a little grungy, a Santa Barbara wine region tee to rep where I got my start, and my favorite cozy pullover that says wine in that classic university font. And without fail, whenever I wear anything from the Wino Shop, people ask me where I got it. So here's your sign to grab something for yourself. Head over to thewinoshop.com and use code POURMemories for 10% off your order. That's thewino, W-I-N-O, shop.com, and the code is POURMemories, P-O-U-R, memories, for 10% off. Because wine is for everyone, and so is the merch.
So, I mean, this is a side tangent, though, that is not really related to what we're talking about at all, but it's just a cool story. At that wine shop, when I was looking for the wine that we were going to have that was not champagne, that I was like, I just want something fun to drink, I asked the wine buyer, hey, is there a white wine that you're particularly excited about right now? And he took me straight to the Foxen Chenin Blanc. I was like, first of all, thank you for bringing me to this. My clients are going to love this. They're my clients. My husband works for them. This is cool, you know? And he's like, well, I guess you don't want this because you can get it for free, right? Yeah. Let's try something different. Like maybe what white wine are you most excited about from France? And he was very clearly on like a Chenin Blanc kick because he took me straight to the Vouvray after that. But anyways, that's neither here nor there to this conversation, but I just thought it was a fun little anecdote.
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I mean, kind of back to our conversation, the question that we all need to ask ourselves when we're marketing wine as wine marketers, wine enthusiasts, is who are we talking to when we're talking about wine, and where are they at on their wine journey?
If you actually want to expand your audience or your clientele, you're going to have to really figure out how to shift gears and communicate to those different audiences, and maybe not put all those eggs in the basket of, I'm talking to the people that only understand wine the way I understand wine.
Yeah.
And as a consumer, I think for consumers, advice for consumers listening, it's permission from Heather and I to just open bottles, regardless of the occasion. You get subjective. There's no right or wrong. Open the bottle. It's whatever price point you can afford it at. Luxury, everybody's luxury budget is varying. It's fine.
It's fine. If you can, and another piece of advice for consumers is talk to the wine buyer, because they will very often, more often than not, be really, really accepting and excited that you're on this journey. And if you tell them, hey, I only have $15 or whatever budgeted or allocated for wine, they will find you the coolest $15 bottle of wine. And it's probably going to be from Europe, probably from like Spain or something, one of the countries that's like a little less known for wine, still known for wine, but maybe not as popular as the Germanys of the world and the Frances of the world. Frances of the world, as if there's more than one. Jesus Christ. But they're going to be a little bit more affordable, and they're going to be really fun and exciting, and also tell them, this is what I typically like to drink. This is the occasion. I just like want to drink something delicious. I'm
missing a white wine from my wine fridge. I need to replace it.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing.
I need more white wine.
I need more white wine. Like, tell me what to get. Yeah. And the wine buyer's gonna be so stoked. There's I forget their name, but there's a person on Instagram. I'm sure you've seen them, but they do this skit where it's like the guy at the wine shop who loves his job. But this person does this like hilarious skit, and it's basically like this guy at a wine shop who just like loves his job and is super dynamic and asking questions like, what's the occasion? Oh, it's a dinner, Valentine's dinner. Like, it's just so
it's physical
so good
comedy in it. Yeah,
all the physical comedy in it. Like when he'll like skip over to the wine shelf and like touch the top of the the threshold of the door, and then he gets there and he's holding a bottle of like Dawn dish soap over his arm, and he's like, oh yeah, this is the facts about this wine, and then he's like, well, how does that feel? How are we sitting with that? It's cute.
We all know that one.
I'll link a couple of those skits in the show notes as well, because I think everyone should watch them.
They're funny.
They're really good.
You had to totally do that. The point is,
I'll see if I can find it.
There's no rules. I think there's the world's on fire. It's a dumpster fire. It's a shit show. We're all going to die. So there's no rules, and there's no rules to how you market wine. There's no wrong way to market wine.
Agreed.
Maybe there might be that somebody's going to come up with an example and be like, what about this?
I mean, I probably could if you give me some time, but
if you gave me some time, I could probably find a reason to. For the most part, there's no wrong way to market wine. I think we've fallen into such a rigid box, and how we talk to consumers. We're in this basically an echo chamber as far as when you need to drink wine and how. There's also no rules to that. So have fun, people. We're all going to die.
We're all dying every day.
Dying a little on the
podcast is taking a turn for the worse here.
We're just like, one of these days we'll just be like crying over a glass of wine.
Everything's terrible.
Everything's terrible.
Yeah.
It was another breaking news on my email.
Yeah. I think you're right. I think, long story short, don't put so much pressure on wine when we market it, when we drink it, when we talk about it.
Scare off the newbies.
Just stop scaring the newbies.
Scaring them.
Trademark Amber LeBeau.
Yep. We're not going to take credit for that.
No, she's so awesome. We love her.
Cool.
Yeah. Cool.
Well, thanks for listening, y'all.
Thanks for listening. I'm Heather.
And I'm Kristin.
And you just listened to Poor Memories. Oh, we didn't talk about what wines we've been drinking that we've liked lately.
Crap. I really liked when we had our meeting at Lark and Sparrow, and
We had it was an Italian something
Chardonnay.
or other. It was an Italian Chardonnay.
It was
That's
an Italian
correct.
Chardonnay.
And it was really good. Yeah.
It was very good. I think
that
you
was
have the
really
picture.
nice.
I don't have the picture.
I think, yeah, I'll put it up. I'll find it. It's in there somewhere. Yeah. I think, yeah, it's that was really, really good. I really loved that. Yeah. I'll put pictures up of the Vouvray and the champagne that I had as well, so you guys can see that. Wow. Those were really good. Yeah. Have you had anything other than wine that you've been really enjoying this week or recently?
I honestly lean into non-alcoholic beers, but I also drink beers, especially when I want a little sip of something, but I'm still trying to maybe do some work into the evening, but I'm kind of partially winding down. I'll usually do I usually try to keep Pacifico or Corona. Corona, because Pedro Pascal is repping it right now.
Pedro, come on our show, talk to us. We love you.
It's just a bit that I've been keeping up. It's like the second he started doing those commercials, I'm like, I guess I'm a Corona drinker now.
I guess I drink Corona now.
I drink Corona.
He's so hot.
Pretty boy.
And wonderful.
Girl.
Just a wonderful person overall. Yep. Okay, I feel like we should wrap it up before we just keep going on about how awesome Pedro Pascal. All right. We love you all. Thank you for joining us. And we'll talk again soon.
Next time.
Okay, bye.